Bobby Unser. Success is where preparation and opportunity meet. Bobby Unser.
Hey, everybody. So glad you can join us today. Jessica and Darren Salquist, heroic performance coaches, coming at you with next level.
Good vibes only.
So good. Let's break down your amazing, long,
Yeah, I
intense
don't know. Oh my
quote.
God, hope that we can get that in
I
our
know.
episode here.
Say it again.
Basically, what we're going to be talking about today is creating your own success checklist, going through your day-to-day actions and seeing how you're showing up for yourself. What routines can you create for yourself? So in order to create that best day, your masterpiece day, it's not simply going to happen by just showing up, right?
Right.
It takes work. It takes discipline. Preparation.
Bring it back
There's
to
a
the
lot of things that go into individuals that have, if you want to say, success. And what does that success look like?
I feel like that's just such a perfect definition of the quote, is where success and where success is where preparation and opportunity meet.
Yeah.
You just said it. You
Yeah,
just said it
exactly.
in a different
Breaking
way.
it down. Look at that.
You prepped it, you prep it up, and there's an opportunity that comes along, but you do the work.
Yeah.
Your preparing is actually doing the work. Nobody's knocking on the door saying, "Hey, Jessica, I got a big old opportunity for you, and you did nothing."
Yeah, that's right.
Believe me, there was many of years that I was waiting for someone to knock on my door.
Yeah, and sometimes that's what all of us do. We sit around
Yeah.
and wait. Oh, nothing's going to happen. Nothing's happening. My life sucks. Yeah, exactly. Nobody's going to come. And, well, let's just say maybe once in a while it might happen for a few. That's that saying, nobody,
Lucky
right? There's a
ducks.
few people I just remember seeing. Anyways. But also what we're going to kind of talk about is another quote that is from Jim Rohn. And he talks about that discipline is the bridge between goals and achievement. And right, you got to cross that bridge every single day. You got to go back and forth to understand your goals, and to be able to get across that bridge to achievement is what? Discipline. And how are you showing up? And this is, again, showing up, creating this success checklist. So we'll get into that a little bit later.
I like both of
But I
those.
kind of want to talk about, even just right now, and again, those of you that are listening, what might that look like for you? What does success look like? When you're doing something and you're putting work into it, when do you feel successful? What does that look like? Is it when it's completed? Is it during the process of it? Is it part of the journey? Or is success only when you get to the very end?
Are you asking moi?
I'm asking moi.
Okay.
Right now.
Well, when I think of success, it's the process. For me, it is. I'm actually pretty sad when something in the end comes. So if I'm training for an event, the end, or actually getting to the event, is exciting, but it's also sad because it's over. So I think for me, my success, when I look at success, it is very much of the process of the consistency of what I'm doing every day to become better, because I'm creating a new version of me, right? I'm learning something about myself. And the more I think about success in itself, it's not something that's external of me, as we talked about in our last podcast about contribution to self and honoring self and grateful for self. It's like what I put into it, I'm going to get out.
Yeah.
I'm going to get out of it. So what it really comes down to is, if I am working on me and being the best version of me and being consistent and repetitious to get to that goal, maybe the goal doesn't even matter at that point.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think?
It varies. It's
A, B,
grown.
or C? Do I get an A, B, or C?
It's grown for me because
Yeah.
as you were talking, I sit here and think about what success looks like. And before, I remember doing my first Spartan Beast, and I thought I was a beast. I thought I was a guy that, I worked out all the time and I can go run 13 miles without training. I didn't do any training. I didn't do any running. Let's just say I was, I like to think of myself that I was physically strong. I was always lifting weights, throwing decent weight around, feeling pretty strong. I had a decent build, and then thinking that I can go run 13 miles, not thinking that endurance or that I would need to put any work into that. And my body put me in check 3 miles into that 13-mile run, and I start cramping. And I got to learn very much on I got to learn a lot about myself on that race. That what I'm capable of. Also, I know that I was. It seems silly to say, but I was almost willing to die on that course.
Yeah.
To finish it, not to walk off. I was not going to walk off that course. I
Yeah.
was having such severe cramps, full body cramps, locking up muscle spasms, but yet I finished the race. But it was from that process to where I needed to learn that for certain events, if you want to show up, you can't just show up. Otherwise, that's the outcome you're going to get,
Yeah.
right? You got, what work did I put into this? I
Yeah.
didn't put any endurance training into this. And so I think that was the time after my third time, because I didn't really learn from that one.
It took 3 times.
I think I did it, went and did it again.
You did.
Didn't have quite the same results, but still
No.
didn't finish the way I wanted to. But I started putting more training into it. And that's what encouraged me to run my 50 miles when I turned 50. And that, because I was aware of myself, where I was, of my success, that I couldn't just show up and go run 50 miles. I needed a plan. And that plan was the preparation, right? And that plan is what we did, is we ran 3 miles, then 5 miles, and then 6 miles. And we just kept bumping up those mileage. And again, my own arrogance and lack of always preparation. When we did our 30 miles, we did 30 miles twice, but the second one we went from 30 to 50.
That's right.
I just told, we don't need to train. If I can do 30, I can do 50. That was my mentality.
I remember.
And the same thing,
vividly.
About 15 miles left that I had to run is I cramped. I was cramping, right? There again. But then my mentality is not quitting. This is what we talked about, earning that 50-mile badge on my Garmin watch. Your watch said we're at 50 miles. Mine said we're at 48 and a half. You wanted to be done, but I said, no, I need to go another mile and a half to get my badge. And even though I could barely walk, I was cramping. I was like, I'm going to do it. That was my mental. That's just my attitude about things. And so, but it's led me, since that 50-mile run, I don't just show up any longer to any more runs, right?
So
we put the training in.
Did that, because part of it too is, right, we talk about your preparation, an opportunity meet, right? That's where success is. But did you come out of that scenario or anything like that as feeling successful in a way? Because the other quote you talked about was Jim, when he talks about discipline in bridging goals and achievements. And it's almost like, even though it didn't have the outcome that you were maybe hoping for, it was the outcome you trained for. You got the outcome of how you prepared. So I think that's interesting. But do you think of it as a success?
The outcome was completing it. So that was definitely a goal. I did have a goal of finishing it in 12 hours, that 50 miles. It took us 13. It took us a little bit longer. And we had a plan, right? We talked about running and then walking every mile for 2 minutes.
Cool.
We stuck to that. But again, I went from 30 miles to 50 miles.
Well, and we were graciously supported by people who surprised us along the whole race.
Yeah,
that wasn't planned. Imagine if that wasn't there.
Yeah, that would have been much more challenging. But from those things that have happened in my life, we've continued to do long races and continued to do those type of events, not 50 miles, but 30 miles. And that's what we have coming up here in 2 weeks. But I'm doing the training now. We're out running. We're putting in the miles. You just did the Walla Walla 6. You and 18 other women from the gym that did awesome. You ran 31 miles in 6 hours. And you put the work into that, right? And it's we're getting ready to go this other race. I'm struggling a little bit. I have a hamstring injury that I'm dealing with, but it's not going to stop me. In my mind, I know I'm going to complete this 30-mile race that we're doing. It's a 24-hour race that we're going to be completing over 30 miles in Utah. But in my mind, I know there's no quit. And so that's where I think is at times maybe a fault of mine, because in my mind, I know I'm going to get it done no matter what, because I'm only focused on the completion. I'm not necessarily focused on how I want to complete it.
Well, I like to think of it as somewhat of a success. I mean, there's success behind it, because when something happens out of our control or partially in our control, that wasn't how we wanted it to happen, we always grow and we learn. So there's some success, right? There's that faithful attempt in learning, the fail, and that you can reflect back on it and you can actually grow. But let's really focus in on talking about this success checklist. You have your final of your series of 5, right? Workshops coming up?
Yeah. So this is the fifth one.
The fifth one
out of the 5 months in a row. And
5
again,
months, yeah.
this is the same process. How do I get better at doing workshops?
Yeah.
How do I get better as a presenter and a speaker?
I have a question for you.
By putting in the reps. What's your question?
So these 5 workshops, I mean, you put a ton of work into it. You're learning something new every month on how to organize a workshop and put things together and little things here and there. I hear excitement in your voice when you're like, oh, I put this together and you want to share it. So my question to you, as we're talking about a success checklist, is where do you see your success within these 5 workshops? Because you made a commitment. You're like, I'm going to do 5 months of workshops, 1 a month, and you're going to do it. And I'm going to have to say, that's huge. Literally developing a 2-3 hour workshop every single month, having really less than a month to prepare for every single workshop is huge. I mean, if you think about it and look back at it, to me, that's just success in itself. But I want to hear where you see that success and then incorporate, maybe this is a great example for the success checklist into what you want to talk about it related to you committing to these workshops to help other people.
Yeah, I mean, that's the first thing, making the commitment, making it public, making an announcement about it. So now I'm holding myself to the grind. The other thing I think is, again, getting strong around that discipline. Again, as we talk about building that bridge between the goals and achievement, and my achievement has gotten, after each workshop, better and better and better. And this is where, again, recognizing that when you go out and do something for the first time, the success is accomplishing it, right? The success is getting it done. Is it going to maybe be exactly 100% of what you wanted? Not maybe the first time that you've ever done something, right? There's going to be some opportunities to learn from. And that's definitely what I've done, obviously, in the first workshop, where I ran out of time a little bit. We crunched it. And in the second workshop, we kind of ran into some issues there too. Again, preparation, what was I doing? But I got to learn from each one of those. I didn't look at it as a failure. I went into it as like, oh, what did I learn and what could I do better? And that's when we went from 2 hours to 3 hours. Luckily, my participants, again, being 20 strong, my largest group right now has been 30. And I talked to them. I say, would you want to go 3 hours? And they all said yes. So that made me feel, obviously, when we just talked about gratitude and accomplishments, contributions that I'm giving, that I got that feedback to let's do more, which has led me to even this one that we're going to be doing in October, which is a 4-hour workshop. I'm really going to put my mind to that. And what has prepared me, again, for this, the preparation is the success that I've had around these workshops and doing the work,
the process,
and learning from each one of those and doing the work. And like you said, less than a month to actually prepare these, because I am taking the tools, I'm taking the ideas that I get from Heroic, and I'm creating my own workshops. And what I really found around these workshops at the end of this 5-month series is like, wow, this is I can do this for organizations. I can do this for corporations, because the way it's built out, I can do it hour by hour by hour, and they all build off of each other. And that's what was kind of cool. It wasn't really my intention in the very beginning that they were going to build, but as I was doing it, it was just flowing. And I recognize now, is like, again, coming up with the success checklist, we're basically taking everything that we've just learned in the last 4 months, and we're going to put it together so individuals can walk away with a checklist that they can now create their own masterpiece day.
Yeah, I love it.
And we're kind of going to a lot of different things into doing this. And one of the ways that I started doing this is I got a coach, right, working with Lori Mage. That has been super awesome, working in her program called the Rise program. And then also something I learned in there as well that we've been talking about. There's an individual that is in this program that he's using the Pomodoro Technique. And the Pomodoro Technique is basically you do 25 minutes of deep work with 5-minute breaks. And then after 4 rounds of doing these deep 25 minutes of just focus on just one thing that I want to focus on, no distractions, no cell phones, no emails. I mean, shutting everything down. So the only thing I'm working on is what's in front of me. After 25 minutes, you take a 5-minute break. You take a 5-minute break, not to go get on social media, but to go for a walk, get yourself a drink, maybe go to the bathroom, take a deep breath, maybe meditation to clear your mind. And then you go back at it for another 25 minutes, or you go on to your next subject, or if you have a few things that you're working on. And then after 4 rounds of doing this technique, you then, after that 4th round, you go into your 5th round. Now you're going to give yourself a 15 to a 30-minute break because you've been doing deep work for a couple hours now. And so this is kind of what the analogy of thinking about a workout, that you're doing a 2-mile, 3-mile, 4-mile, 5-mile run, or not a run, but 5 hours of running, which we're going to be doing here, what you just did, 6 hours. is going at it through this process. And how are you going to do it? How are you going to fuel? What is that going to look like to do? And then taking that moment to refuel and to give yourself that energy that you need. So that's something that I've been working with and learning a lot from, is that Pomodoro technique.
Yeah, I like that. And I like that with your, you talked about enjoying the process. It's like you're learning every month, and you're finding, what I'm hearing is you're finding what works, right? And you're doing it, or you're expanding on it, or using this Pomodoro technique to help you focus in. Because I think in the very beginning, when you start something, and this is speaking of me, but you've emphasized a little bit in this and sharing before, is that, where do I start? Like, what do I do? How do I even get the first thing done, right? Like at work, if I'm creating like a presentation, if I can just like give myself quiet, present, undisturbed, no distraction, like 10 minutes, even if I just stare at my screen, as long as I get one thing written down, right? It's like a domino effect.
Yeah.
It's like all of a sudden, and then like you said, you take a break, and then you come back, you're recovered, ready to go, and you take a break, and that gives yourself the ability to do the preparation so that you can be successful when the opportunity comes knocking on your door.
And it allows you to sustain your energy for a little bit longer of time, that focus, so you don't get fatigued as fast, right? Sometimes we look at projects like, oh, this is going to take too long.
Yeah.
And this happens a lot with the clients that I work with for personal training about working out, or, oh, I've been so busy at work today, or I got all these things going on, I haven't been able to work out. Did you have 4 minutes in your day anywhere? Well, yeah, I had 4 minutes here and there. I go, okay, do a Tabata.
Yeah.
You can do a 4-minute Tabata, 8 rounds, 20 seconds on, 10 seconds of rest. Do push-ups, do squats, do something in that 4 minutes, and then that's success. You worked out. You did something intentional.
Yeah.
A workout doesn't need to be 15, 30, 45, 60 minutes long.
Not at all.
The goal is to keep the success, to keep the momentum going, to say, hey, I worked out today. I did something that I said I was going to do. That's your success checklist. If your success checklist includes, around your energy, is exercise, throw in a 4-minute Tabata somewhere. Brendan, what about you? Do you do anything like that in your days? Have you created anything for yourself that you see that works for you?
No, but I do come up with a bunch of excuses.
Yeah, right.
But no, actually, I have found, I had a friend a couple weeks ago encourage me to like just get out there and run a mile a day. Because like that's the consistency I need, is just like I just need to find time to go run a mile a day. I haven't ran a mile every day, but I have ran every other day, and I have found the time to like get out there for at least a mile, and sometimes it turns into 3. And I think as I keep on working to that, the excuses go away from, oh, I don't have time, I need to work, or I need to do this. Like the more consistent I've gotten with it, I already can tell the change of like being able to just go run a quick for a quick 10 minutes,
Yeah.
And so, but every day, sometimes those excuses still creep in, but I've definitely seen the change already in just the 2 weeks that my friend encouraged me to go run a mile a day.
Yeah.
So one question is, when you actually make the choice to go do the mile or whatever the distance it is, have you ever went outside or wherever you do the running and taken a step and decided, nope, you know what, I'm not going to do it?
No.
Nope. So my point is that it just takes that one tiny step sometimes to get yourself to like find that momentum. And once that starts flowing, it's like you're not going to turn back in the midst of it and go, oh, you know what, I'm wasting my time.
Yeah.
Usually you celebrate yourself when you're done and go, oh, sweet, I'm so glad I did this today.
And then this is the part of the success checklist too. Like just to say a mile could be a big thing. A mile takes a little bit of time, but maybe your small goal. So a win for you would be, my goal is to put my running shoes on every day. If I can go put my running shoes on, what's that going to do for you? You're like, okay, I got my running shoes on. Go win. Maybe you go a quarter mile that day. Maybe you run out to the end of the driveway and back. Boom, check. Just getting in that mentality of that, I went and ran, and a win for me is putting on my running shoes, and
Absolutely.
then you can take them back off. I'm going to put them on. I'm going to walk to the end of the driveway. I'm going to come back in. I'm going to take them off. And I'm going to put my other shoes on. And just getting that kind of mindset.
Yeah.
Like floors and ceilings. You've heard us share the floors and ceilings philosophy before. So just tossing that out there to you.
And I do want to say something to that, because if I am at home working and I have no shoes on and I don't have clothes that I would work out in, I will make every excuse in the book to be like, oh, because now it's gonna take me 5-10 minutes to get my shoes and get some workout clothes on and get a sports bra on. And so the days that I'm like, you know what? You put your shoes on now. Like, you just make that part of it. You put your shoes on, you put your workout stuff on. I can beautifully put a suit jacket or something over my shirt without anybody even knowing that I'm wearing workout clothes underneath it virtually. And I tell you, when I put those tennis shoes on, that's a game changer for me. If I don't have those shoes on, I feel like it's like this huge feat that I have to like literally put shoes on, when
Yeah.
it's so funny because it's maybe a minute of my day. But I will say that preparation, that success is where prep meets opportunity.
Yeah, and then the discipline, right? Just the discipline, just to put not just, I don't like to use the word just, the discipline to put your shoes on. And that's what we call, again, there's a quote, the power of the plan is not to get you there. The power of the plan is to simply get you started.
Absolutely.
And so when we come into this is where another technique that I've utilized a little bit in my success checklist and what I've utilized in creating these workshops is the Pareto Principle, which in the Pareto Principle talks about 80% of your results come from 20% of your efforts.
Yeah.
And so thinking about when I first wanted to start doing my workshops, I had all this information. I was grabbing all that. I was like, which one do I choose? Which one do I choose? And I had to really narrow it down to basically 20%. Where can I what can I pick 2 or 3 things out of the 10 things that I had picked out? Let me grab 2 or 3 ideas and then focus on those things. Because again, it's not to get everybody there. It's to get people started. That's what these workshops are about, is to get them started, getting moving in the direction that they want to move in. And that's what the success checklist is all about, is creating this list of things that are sometimes simple to do that we don't have to think about it anymore. And this is where kind of I'm going to be talking about leaning into Kobe Bryant, the Black Mamba mentality, and his work ethic that he had, and to develop because his goal was to become the greatest player of all time. And he didn't do that by sitting on the couch. And this is the big comparison between, him and Michael Jordan, which I'm not even going to get into that type of conversation. They're both great. They're both, those things. But Kobe Bryant was able to do what he did because of Michael Jordan, because of Michael Jordan's mentorship. And that's the thing, what that Kobe had. When we talk about who we are and the things that the people that have done great things, they didn't do that on their own. Somebody else did it in front of them to help give them the idea or the path to do what they did. And that's where Kobe in the All-Star game, sitting there chit-chatting with Michael Jordan, getting ideas and clues. And Michael appreciated that from Kobe. And they worked together. They trained together on some things to be, Michael Jordan didn't see him as a threat.
Yeah.
Michael Jordan seen this young Kobe Bryant as an opportunity to share his knowledge and let's see what this kid can do. And maybe this kid will make me better as well. And those are the things that we can always get better from anybody that's around us, no matter their age or the difference of where we are at. So think about in that effort of, what does that success checklist look like? Kobe knew that without a plan, that he couldn't become the greatest player of all time. And then if we think about professions, physicians, airline pilots, construction workers, mechanics, they all have some type of checklist to follow this process so they don't forget anything. Because some of those things that we forget, putting the oil, you got a brand new engine that you're dropping into a car and you're putting the fluids in it. What's the simplest thing that we could forget, which we wouldn't think we would forget, is the oil in the car. You did all these other things. You tightened everything up. Sometimes, boom, oh my God, I didn't put any oil in it, or I didn't put any coolant in the vehicle. This is what your checklist is all about, is to make sure that you did not miss anything. Those simple things.
Yeah. Practice makes better.
Yeah.
So what are the key behaviors though that drive success? Like what are the
consistency? Just, I think, really showing up day after day, having those things that that are going to make you better. Those things, like, again, for me, meditation, my reading of the Daily Stoic, listening to Heroic +1s and Philosopher's Notes, podcast, Next Level Good Vibes Only. I listen to our podcast. I like to hear what I'm saying to see if there's something I could do differently, or would I listen to myself? Sometimes yes, sometimes no. But that's what makes us better, right? I mean, I feel in order to grow, you do have to listen to
Yeah.
yourself and see what you're saying. Do you agree with what you're saying? Could I have made my points a little bit clearer? And a lot of times, yes.
Yeah, right.
But
So
it's that reflection is
yeah,
winning or learning.
yeah,
We know
yeah.
we're never
That's
failing.
working.
We're
That's right.
never failing.
Yeah.
You're always learning. It's a win or learn process.
And you have the choice. I talk about a little bit as before we wrap up here about the cup overflowing. You brought that up several times. I think you brought it up last podcast that you're going to mention it in
Yeah.
this podcast, just about like what your cups, right? We've got some fundamental cups that we have.
Yeah, we're going to be focusing on 3 things in the success checklist. And part of that is in our success checklist to best improve ourselves, to help us show up not only for ourselves, but for those that are around us, for those that we want to serve, is filling up our energy cup and our love and our work cup. So we have these 3 cups. This is our big 3. And having goals around that in those 3 areas around energy, sleep, exercise, movement, around our work, those things that bring value to ourselves, those things that we go out and we get to do things for others, as Brendan is doing for us, providing the space for a podcast. And then the love, the connection that we make with others, the love that we have for life. Is it's hard when if those cups aren't full, it's hard to give to others.
Right.
And if our energy isn't where it needs to be, then how are we going to show up at our work best? How are we going to show up as our love best? And so the big process to this is what I want to be sharing in this workshop is, and what I could provide to you at your organizations as well, just a little plug there in case you want us to come to your organization to share these things, is that energy cup.
Right.
That energy cup, it needs to overflow, and that overflow overflows into your work cup and your love cup. And it isn't until those 3 cups are overflowing that you get to share with others. Because if your cups are empty or your cups are half full, every time you give a little bit of that, what is in your cup away, that depletes your cup. And then pretty soon you're going to be drained. And that's where we get burnout. That's where we get fatigue. This is where maybe relationships are starting to break down because our love cup isn't full, because our energy cup hasn't been sustained.
Right.
And so that's what this success checklist is about, is to really build this ability to create your masterpiece day. By creating those masterpiece days. Those are going to build up to masterpiece months. I'm slurring my words right now. Maybe I just should have brought some water. Those masterpiece months, and then that masterpiece year. And that's what I feel like when I say happy next level birthday to people, is that every year that we've learned something. Every year that we've learned something at this level of life, and then we're going to go into our next year of life with growth, with the opportunity to learn more, but take what we just learned in this last year and apply it and keep learning.
So what I'm hearing you say is that energy fuels our work and our love. As that cup overflows, then I'm visualizing it kind of overflowing into your cups of work and love. Because I know that I could make my work cup overflow, but there's a lot less ability for them to trickle down and create more energy or create more love for me. So what I love about it is that energy is that foundation, right? Energy is the place that without it, really difficult to show up for work, really difficult to show up for love, as you had stated, and how that energy just fueling our vitality.
Yeah, it's not sustainable.
Our love for life.
If you don't have
right.
the energy, it's not sustainable.
It's not sustainable. And so just for everyone listening is, if you're feeling like any of your energy, work, and love is feeling like it's not successful, or you're feeling doubt, or if you're feeling disconnected from any of it, or especially like love, like Darren mentioned, relationships, if you're feeling that, you're just struggling with accepting love or giving love or spending time or not giving time, saying yes, saying no, really check your energy. Figure out where and what would benefit you to really step into reflecting on how you get energized, how you get fueled, how do you live with vitality through your sleeping, your movement, nutrition, recovery, all those things that you do to take care of yourself so that you can show up for work as you want to, right? What does that look like for you? What does success at work look like for you? What does success with love look like to you, right? The connections that you're making. If you don't have any energy, you're not going to make any connections. If you don't have any energy, your contributions at work are going to be limited.
Yeah. And then when I say work, it's not just your job, the
Right.
job stuff,
Right.
right?
It's your creativity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's other areas in your
Creativity
life,
and
the things that you're working on, that to grow.
projects.
And that's the thing. Like you do go to your job that provides you the opportunities to sustain the life that you lead financially. But there's also the self-development, that work to give to yourself. And that's the thing I found a little bit at times. You know, starting my day at 4 a.m, going to the gym, working with clients, showing up as my energetic best with my clients, doing the best that I can, and then coming home in the afternoon and then having the energy to now dive into some deep work with creating these workshops.
Yeah.
And there's been a couple times like, I'm just tired, man. I'm just falling asleep as I'm reading something, right? And that's not helping me. So it really makes me dive deeper. Okay, why am I falling asleep right now? What am I missing?
Yeah.
Where my sleep am I missing? Where am my nutrition? Where my movement's been pretty on point. But I would say since the creation of these workshops, since January of 2025, and again, my word is capable and willing, is that I've been saying what I'm capable of and what I'm willing to do to put myself into the place that I'm at. And then also the benefit of doing these workshops has allowed me to strengthen those habits that I wasn't maybe so strong in. And that's, again, I think coming into with what we're talking about with our quote that we started with, right? Is success is where preparation and opportunity meet. It's preparation, man. It's really preparation.
What's the biggest thing that you'd like everyone to take from this podcast today as we wrap up?
The biggest thing that I want someone to take
Takeaway.
from.
If they heard one thing that we said today, what would you like them to hear?
You're gonna be deep here. Just don't give up on yourself. Just do the work. I mean, it's put the work into yourself. Love yourself. Know that you're worth it. Say to yourself that you've done hard things. Tell yourself you've done hard things and you can do this. This is not that hard. Showing up for yourself. If you can't show up for yourself, who are you going to be able to show up for, right? And so just knowing that you've done hard things before and that you can do this.
And that success can be just as glorious and something to celebrate as part of the process. It's not always the outcome or even the accomplishment. That's a bonus, right? But as you said earlier, is just getting started. Just getting started.
Fine. Don't wait for the motivation to find you. You're not going to be motivated every single time to go do this work. I'm not motivated to go work out. I'm not motivated to go run 10 miles as we're training. I'm not motivated to get up at 5 a.m. or 4 a.m. to go do certain things, but it's what needs to get done.
Just get started.
Just get it started, and the motivation will find you. So also think about hiring if you need to. Don't be afraid to hire a coach. Make an investment into yourself. Think about where you're investing. Think about where you spend your money. There's on a lot of little trinkets. There's Amazon or eBay or these little things all these different things that we have surrounding us, these materialistic things. How can you make an investment for yourself to be that best version of yourself, especially if you're struggling? So live with gratitude, live with love, and take yourself to the next level with
good vibes only.
Peace.
Bing, bing, bing.